All right, the GE collapse is continuing. Shares are down close to 18% just this month. The former GE vice chairman, the former NBC Universal CEO and chairman, Bob Wright. Bob, good to see you.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
I love having you, my friend. And I still hold you responsible for hiring me at CNBC, or at least not putting the kibosh on it. So much appreciated.
You were our star.
Yeah, if that were true. I was your first anchor.
And you were 13 years old.
I wish that were true, but I always am grateful to you. So let me get your take first on those heady days of GE, and of course when everything was firing all cylinders, you and Jack Welch, and a team that was considered like a Wharton dream team. What happened? What's going on?
Well, there was a lot more attention to the balance sheet. We had, and we also had a powerhouse in GE Capital.
Yes.
Which is a non-bank bank, which was very large and could do all kinds of financial transactions.
Someone said it had the GDP of Latin America.
Well, it's probably true. It's certainly more than many countries, and that was a very big help, and it was looked after pretty carefully. But everything can get away from you at some point or other. So, IML was trying to reduce the impact of GE Capital, but at the same time. That we had to deal with a number of outside issues, the collapse of the bubble in power, which was Enron, this kind of phony power shortage in America, which didn't actually exist. And we got hit with a lot of things. But everything was getting better until we had 15. In 15, and I don't blame anybody, but I mean, Trayan came into the thing. They bought a big piece. They put a key member of their company on the board and so forth. And all of a sudden, there seems to be an absence of paying attention to the balance sheet and what the liabilities were that needed to be satisfied, or how many there were.
Do you think, in retrospect, Bob, that Jeff Immelt, nice and wonderful as a human being as he was the wrong choice, and that started this path in the wrong direction? Now, of course, he came on board right before 9/11, and I understand that, but
actually, the day of 9/11.
The day of 9/11, right? So, what of that?
Well, with hindsight, you have to say that. Jack Welch.
When you talk to him,
he was his pick.
Yeah.
Among the other candidates, I helped as I could on the board with Jack, and it just somehow or other we lost our, and I say our because I never can quite get past it. They just lost our bearing and dealing with the balance sheet, and those insurance liabilities should have been dealt with. They could have been dealt with for probably $12 or $13 billion in terms of getting a reinsurance.
But you guys didn't miss a line in that balance sheet. You couldn't get anything past Jack Welch, or you, certainly at NBC Universal. And I'm just wondering now how you put the egg back together. Is that even possible? I mean, a lot of people say, all right, no dividend, no nothing. I mean, sell off everything but the kitchen. I mean, is that really going to
make a difference? Well, you can't really do that, because you've got a certain amount of debt that is covered by GE itself, and you have bond issues. You just can't be selling things and expecting you're going to reduce your.
So it just gives you a temporary cash flow.
It's a one-shot.
It's a one-shot deal.
And then you don't get their earnings that are coming from that entity. So Culp understands that. You have to do that very carefully.
Some have said he's going to be the last funeral director, though.
Well,
can you picture a GE going, though?
You have to think. GE has another asset that's very hard to value but can't be replaced. GE has a great reputation out in the entire world. They've done business everywhere for 80, 90 years. And these businesses they have are taking advantage of that and so forth. And so you have to be very careful. That's a real asset. And most of their GE's employees are outside the United States. So that there's a huge goodwill effort, and that's an asset that I think Larry appreciates, being from a smaller company that didn't have that reach. So he's got to get his businesses performing well enough to cover his cost and reduce his
But it
leverage.
feeds on itself now.
Well,
That's what you worry about.
Well, he's taking it day at a time, and I think that's the way to do it. He can always sell something. You sell something, you don't get it back,
Yeah.
and you don't have the income from it. So that's you only get
You got to
one
be
shot.
careful. If I could switch gears in your old neck of the woods at NBC Universal, and of course you've been reading the battles this president's had with the press,
Yeah.
wanting to take away Jim Acosta's press credentials. This network, Fox, supports CNN in its legal effort to hold on to those credentials. How do you feel about the administration's war with, in this case, CNN, but the press in general?
Well, I wish it wasn't there. I think it's distracting. I do resent the fact that CNN spends about 40% of its time attacking the president in one form or another. There's nothing he can do that's any good, and anything he does that's good, it doesn't get really a lot of coverage. So it's a shame. It's a shame. It doesn't.
But in your days running the news division as well as the network, you would not have supported the president revoking a press pass,
Well,
or would you?
Well, that depends on who was doing it for what purpose, but the answer is no. You could suspend somebody. You would say, okay, if maybe you don't show up for the next one or something like that until you get your act together.
What do you think of Jim Acosta when you've seen him in a press environment?
Well, I saw. I thought it was an unfortunate performance on his part too. He was standing up. He wouldn't relinquish the microphone. He was asked to do it 3 or 4 times, and that was inappropriate. And he could have been asked to sit down and not answer any more questions. There's other ways to deal with it, but it's just blowing up now. It's another issue.
In your days, I mean, you had far bigger things to worry about. Did you ever call reporters or anchors on the carpet for something you thought they got factually wrong or hyperventilated?
Well, I would go through Andy Lack at that time.